Well, it's funny because I was like, I went and saw Paul McCartney in.
Will you hold on? We'll do this on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about all this stuff. Let me just do a proper intro, and then let's see. Is the mic on? Episode.
Sorry, I was just thinking about Teen Wolf. I forgot about Teen Wolf, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll talk about all. Episode 129. What's wrong with Orny Adams? My guest today, Jim Jefferies.
Hello.
Jim Jefferies has his own podcast. I don't know about that.
It's cancelled. We're not cancelled at the moment. It's on a hiatus at the moment, but listen to all the old episodes.
Jim Jefferies is no longer doing the podcast. I don't know about that.
They're all there. There's 200 episodes.
That's great. He's playing theaters all over the world because he's funny, which is not always the case, but he's funny. And he's been punched on stage.
Yes. Yeah, back in the day before everyone had camera phones with the security footage.
It's great.
Yeah, that old school security footage, just one angle.
Where was that? England, right?
Manchester Comedy Store.
Do you know who it is?
I met the guy briefly afterwards. He spent the night in a drunk tank, and I said, I'm not going to press charges, but don't tell him till the morning.
Right. Why did he punch you? What happened?
I was dealing with a heckler. It was a pretty rowdy crowd, Manchester, on a Friday or Saturday night late show. And there was a heckler, and there's a line that I always use. I still use to this day as one of my closing heckle put-downs. It sounds like an old line, but it's my line. It's when I'm done with someone, I go, I'm going to leave you alone now like your dad did. Right?
Oh,
They're a little bit white trashy as well. It really hits home if it's the right type. You know what I mean? It's a nice little out, right? Anyway, this guy's over here. He has issues with his father that is obviously unresolved, and he just saw red, and so he runs up on the stage and hits me. But when he comes up, because I wasn't dealing with him, right? Because normally you deal with someone, hey buddy, shut the fuck up, blah 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 blah. When he came up, you can hear the first thing I say is, "Oh, hang on, mate." You know, I was like about to go. The bathrooms are over there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I thought you were saying, "Hang on, mate." To the I thought you were. He comes from stage left.
Yeah.
You're talking stage right.
Yeah.
So I thought you were like, "Hang on, mate. Let me take care of this." I thought you were being very polite.
No, I was like, oh, hang on, boom, holy shit. And the funny thing is, Michael McIntyre, who for many American listeners might not know who he is, but he's arguably the biggest comic in the UK. You know, he sells arenas type of thing. Back in the day, we were just a couple of road dogs, you know, and he was the other act on. Now, me and Michael had a healthy competitiveness with each other, right? But healthy. I like Michael. I think Michael respects me. I don't know if he likes me, but I think he respects me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel that a lot of the times. With comedy.
Yeah, I'll take respect over like.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Anyway, so Michael, I get punched, and then the audience rushes on the stage and starts. You can put Jim Jefferies punched in the internet. You can find it very easily.
Yeah.
And the audience get up and sort of fight him a bit. And then I go, there's a spiral staircase down to a basement and then a hallway to get up onto the stage, right? So you walk out. So I've gone down the spiral staircase. I've started walking down this tunnel, right? I get all the way to the dressing room. Now Michael is watching this all happen on the screen. He's watched every bit of it. But he knows I'm coming. Right. So he quickly changed the channel. I walk in, the cunt's watching snooker, right? He's just watching, which is on British TV.
What is that?
Pool.
Oh, pool.
Pool, like snooker.
Yeah.
And like they watch that on the BBC on regular TV. This isn't a special snooker channel. This is like on one of your 4 channels.
They also watch boating news.
And darts and all that stuff.
Yeah. They got to get a life.
Go to New Zealand, they watch sheepdog trials. Right? Anyway, so he changed up. He's watching snooker, and I walk in the room. He doesn't turn his head to look at me, and he just goes, "How did it go?" And I went, "Not good, Michael. I just got punched in the head. I think I got a black eye, like this, right?" And he goes, "No one can follow me." And then as soon as I was showing that they got the guy, security held him, the police came, and then we were looking at the footage, and I was still sort of like an ice pack on my head, and I'd just gone back on stage, and I went back out on stage, and Michael had already watched the footage, right? He'd already got it. He goes, he could review it back. This was like 2005, right? Yeah, 2006. It was 2006, but it was a security camera. It was also the camera that comics went, "Can you record my set?"
Okay.
You know what I mean? So this was easy to get the footage. It wasn't like some hard drive that was like
Okay.
And I came off, and Michael had walked out of the room, and he was clapping his hands like, "It does not disappoint." He was so over the moon with the whole thing.
And somehow the footage got out. this goes.
I put it out.
You put it out. Good for you.
I put it out. Well, you might as well own these things, right? And I remember thinking at that stage, this was before like even 2006. It doesn't feel like that long ago, but it was in the terms of, and not everyone had a camera on their phone. If we did have a camera, it took really shitty photos, and it was a flip phone, and this whole idea of like people like videotaping themselves wasn't really, to have footage. I remember thinking, oh, this will go good for me, because I just finished the Edinburgh Festival. I just booked my first solo tour. So I had a solo tour ready to go.
Yeah.
That was half sold, and then that helped sell it. But this idea that punch to the head made me is a bit of bullshit. I was already in theaters.
I've been waiting for this moment. I don't want to get punched in the head. Yeah. But I did Cirque du Soleil last year. Yeah. And
were you like a clown in Cirque du Soleil? Were you like a trapeze?
It's stand-up. You would do stand-up in the middle of the show.
Because I know Brad Williams did this as well, right?
Same one.
Okay.
Same one. So I did it, and you're supposed to come out at a certain time for your bow at the end. Mm-hmm. And I'd always been on the side of the stage, so I never really saw what was going on stage. I just waited for my cue, and I went out. But I know that everybody would start moving up stage, including the lead singer. So I thought, I got cocky after a few nights. I said, I'm going to watch it downstairs on the monitor, like the guy who watched you get punched.
Yeah, sure.
I'm watching it, and all of a sudden I see everybody sort of moving up stage. I'm like, shit, I missed it. I run up the staircase. I go out onto the stage. I was premature. Yeah. So now they're all doing some dance, and I'm like Frogger moving around, 50 dancers, and I'm getting like kicks are coming at me and shit like that. Yeah. I get to the front of the stage. They're now all moving backstage. So now I'm alone.
Were you getting laughs? Did people think it was
Nobody
part
knew
of the
what
show?
was going on.
No, okay.
Right.
They're just confused.
But I have video of it, and I went over it on my podcast with Godfrey, and I go, this is gonna make my career. This is my Jim Jefferies punch video. Nothing.
Yeah, but it's a different time.
Yeah.
There wasn't so many things that went viral. My son first saw me get punched in the head because he was big into watching fails, right?
Yeah.
And there was also dumb criminal TV shows because the footage was on the internet. It was shown on lots of TV shows and stuff like that. My son was about 4 and he's like, "You're a fail." What? Oh, you're a fail. That was his first time seeing me on screen. He's like, "Oh, this is killer."
Yeah, I don't know what these kids are up to. I have a nephew, kid's 12.
Yeah.
Every time I call, he starts talking about comedians that are more famous than me. It's the first thing he does. He's like, "How come you're not as famous as Chris Rock?" This is what he says.
So I just took my I just took my son to Comic-Con this weekend in Los Angeles, and I paid to meet Hayden, have a photo with Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, right? Because my son's Star Wars, and
of course.
I don't like spoiling my son, but I do like buying him experiences, that he'll remember rather than stuff.
Yeah,
and so that was the best because Hayden Christensen went, "Oh, Jim Jefferies," like right away, and I went, "Oh, fuck." And normally I wouldn't do this, right? Normally I wouldn't try to dress like myself in a crowded place like that, but I went in full leather jacket, hair done, hat off, fucking thing, because I just was hoping that either Ewan McGregor or because I could brag to my son. Right. So that, because like Darth Vader knowing who you is way cooler than any other comic or anything like that. So that was pretty cool. That was like 2 days ago.
And they knew you.
Hayden did, and Ewan sort of went, I think I don't know if he did, but Hayden definitely did.
I do this thing. I did it the other day for the first time. I was driving to the Brea Improv, and I thought, within a square mile, I bet somebody knows me.
Yeah, sure.
I do this like sort of thing, but there is an excitement. I was at a party the other night, big Hollywood party. I hate going to these things.
Right.
But I got to see, say hi to Bill Maher, who I like. And Bill. One time I was at the Grove in Los Angeles, and he just came up to me and just started talking. I'd never met him before. He's like, "Hey, Orny, how you been? What's going on?" I go, "This guy's cool.
Yeah.
He's a comic.
Yeah.
He's a comic." So I was at this party. I'm talking to this guy. I said, "What's your name?" And he said, "Baltazar." I said, "How do you know the?" These are big people. I go, "How do you know the people in the party?" And he goes, "I'm in movies and stuff like that." And I said, "What have you done?" And he was in Lord of the Flies as a kid.
Oh wow.
And I said, "Great." And he named them other directors. He worked with everybody. So I look him up when I leave, and his name's Baltazar Getty.
Yeah,
he's one of the Gettys.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? His father had his ear, was kidnapped and had his ear cut off.
Yeah, it's not all roses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But here's a fucking Lindbergh, baby. You know, you don't want to be the richest famous person.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. So we're talking, and then he said, he goes, I know you. He goes, you're a comedian. He goes, you're really funny. And I get such a kick out of that.
Oh, yeah. No, it's still nice. Look, I still to this day, if someone asked to have a photo, I'm still over the moon about that, because fucking there was plenty of years where no one asked to have a photo with me. And sometimes it's not always convenient. It's not always this. But, man, if someone likes you.
Yeah.
What are you fucking angry about that for?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I have met, the only time I meet celebrities who I think a bit more jaded, but people who have been famous from a very young age. I've never met anyone who got famous from 30 onwards who isn't super appreciative of it.
Right. I bet I have. I can't.
Well, you think they let it go into their head really quickly?
I think that I can think of one. I'm not going to say it here. A comedian.
Well, comedians. Yeah, true that. Yeah, I'm taking it all back.
We're an interesting. We are an interesting group of people.
Well, there's a lot of mental health issues, and I'm going from autism to depression and everything in between, right? And everybody's a group of look at me's, right? And you know, but I will say this about the comedy community: we get a lot of flack for saying intolerant things, or you said this and you said that. It is the most diverse workplace in any fucking occupation you could have. I know 5 or 6 dwarfs.
Do you?
Yeah. Through
doing comedy?
Yeah, doing comedy.
Really?
Throughout working around the world. I know tall lesbians and by the way, short gay guys and black guys and Latino fellas and you know, I know everybody.
Yeah.
Right? I knew trans people long before it was fashionable. Right. Back in the day, I've known trans people for 20 years in this job. It's because we attract people who they need to joke around. Whether they're damaged in whatever thing, you know, like from their parents or from relationships or whatever, these are people who want to make jokes. You know?
Yeah.
And so we are a eclectic group.
We sure are. But you know what's always bothered me about our group? We're very competitive. I wish it wasn't so competitive. I wish it was like music.
The American scene is more competitive than the British scene, and the Australian scene I can't really speak on because I sort of left there and went to the UK. And now in Australia, everyone's super nice to me, you know.
But do you get shit for that? I was wondering because I was reading, you were in Rolling Stone magazine, I think this month?
Yeah.
Okay.
In Australia. Australian Rolling Stone.
I know, it's a big asterisk. But
it's still very nice.
I don't want to bring it up. I was going to let the audience think it was the real Rolling Stone.
It's real Rolling Stone.
It's Rolling Stone Melbourne edition.
It's bigger than being in the Czech Republic Rolling Stone or the Croatian one. No, I don't know. I think I was very proud, man. That's my home country.
Yeah.
Over the moon to be in Rolling Stone.
But you were smart. As a businessman and a comedian, you saw that there weren't that many venues in Australia.
Yeah, well, you couldn't do it.
Yeah, you knew to get out.
You couldn't do it. And I saw that right away. And also, my parents met in London. They're both Australians. And they met in the 60s in London. And Australians and people in the Commonwealth, before you're 27, you're allowed a 2-year visa to go over there and work. And it's reciprocal. Like, they can come to Australia, and there's tons of British people in Australia. Although in Australia, they make the British people, only up until recently, till Brexit, they make the English people pick fruit for a couple of months.
Where?
Just out in farms.
No.
We don't have illegal immigrants and this, that, and the other.
You got the British picking fruit for you?
The British out in the Australian sun.
Come on.
Yeah. Right up until Brexit. Not anymore, but up until Brexit, if you were a British tourist who wanted to get your 2-year visa, right, to get into the country, you had to pick fruit for 2 months and then have at it, enjoy yourself.
You're saying everybody, like even rich people, were rich people hiring? Were they outsourcing? If you were a
British person under 27 and you wanted to move to Australia for a couple of years for your 2-year visa, you had to pick fruit.
What if you're like one of the royals? They're going to waive that, right?
Fucking Harry worked on a farm. Harry worked on a farm when he came to Australia. He did.
This is amazing.
He worked on a farm.
Why doesn't America do this? We should force all our immigrants.
Because you have illegal immigrants coming in.
Yeah, but we're paying them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think they get a wage. I think they get a living wage and accommodation for a couple of months. Like, it's not much, but it's a job that no one wants. And so we make them all go out there and pick fucking oranges. That's unbelievable. But anyway, so my parents moved to England met in the 60s in England, and so we were Anglophiles. The whole family. We watched British comedy and we watched We watched British TV shows, and Australia still, when I was growing up, was very sort of Commonwealthy, a little less now. It still is, of course.
Because I remember when comics would talk about you early on, they're like, yeah, he's Australian, but...
Well, yeah, so now I do all right in Australia, but I I'd done 1 year in Australia, moved to America, moved to Britain, I basically did 20 to 30 there, and then I've done 31 to 47 here.
Do Australian comedians give you shit for bailing?
No, because most Australian comics, well, also now is very different. Now you can get a Netflix special and you can live wherever the fuck you want and you can break the world like that, right? I can gig in Asia now because of Netflix specials, right? Where I couldn't before, but people can show up now. Where before, if you wanted to conquer countries, you go, all right, England, let's go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You go over there and give it a go. And then I got in America, all right, America, let's have a go, right? And then you go over and have a go. Where now you got... Like people were only angry, I think, or bitter about me doing that because maybe they weren't at the stage in life where they could have done it. Or maybe they didn't have the balls to do it, or maybe they had little kids, or maybe they couldn't give it. Like a lot of Australian comedy, Australian radio still pays a shit ton of money. So if you got that morning radio show and you were the Brisbane morning guy and you're being paid $800,000 a year, that's a hard thing to walk away from to follow stand-up in a really meaningful way.
That's what I'm saying. It's courageous to pick it up after 1 year, have the belief in yourself that you're even funny, because doing it 1 year, most comics are sort of like, where am I? What am I?
The first 2 years in Britain, it wasn't a full-time job for me.
What were you doing?
I was bartending.
Okay.
I was bartending and... before that, I was working selling mobile phones in Australia and, car stereos. I used to sell car stereos for a company called Strathfield Car Radios. And it was just always Greek blokes would come in and I would just show them how big a subwoofer they could have in the trunk of the
remember
car.
the pull-out car radio? So it wouldn't get stolen?
That was stolen. I sold those.
Yeah.
I sold Motorola bricks, that.
Yeah.
So I sold Motorola bricks and I sold... And analog phones and and I sold car stereos, and then the removable face technology came in.
Oh yeah,
used to be you pulled the whole thing out, then you just remove the face. Well, now we're in the future now.
Now you don't have to carry as much.
And I remember they brought in the first ever navigation system, and it was some outrageous price. I'm talking over 10 grand, and it was a big thing that went in the trunk of your car. Mm-hmm. And you loaded up the maps with a disc, and then you put in where you were going to go, and it would tell you left and right. And we had a display model, and you'd press it, and it would go turn left, turn right, and people would come up. We never sold one because we didn't believe this product worked.
Oh,
I remember going like this. I'd never seen one actually work. All I'd seen is a display one, and people would go. I go, well, you put this disc in, and then you put the address in, and it'll tell you where to go. And they go, what happens if you make a wrong turn? I don't know. Does it work? I can't see how it would work.
Great salesman. Clearly, you're not on commission.
I was like this. Yeah,
you were? Aren't you supposed to say, I have one in my car. It's great. It corrects it.
I'm a big fan of that. Whenever you go to... I love people who work in shops who look down on you. And it's like, you're still working in a shop. I've got nothing. Look, all jobs are good jobs, right? I'm not putting down anyone. But when you go into like Chanel or something, you're trying to buy a gift for your wife or something, and they sort of like, what do you want? Where do you think? This bag is very popular. This one the women like. I have this one. Oh, you have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know you had it. Oh, that changes fucking everything. But I remember doing that with people. I'd go, this is the car stereo I have in my car.
Right.
I had a shitty $500 fucking car.
Right. Did you ever see that movie Boogie Nights?
Yeah.
Where the guy's selling the radios?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like that sort of thing. He's
and you gotta and people are, you like it? I love it.
Yeah.
It's what I use. And, towards the end of that job, I remember getting a CD player and thinking, all right, this is the future now. But I think that industry's done now because cars just come with nice stereos. And and it's also douchey to go down the street and...
Oh, they do it all the time in this neighborhood.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, yeah, they do. They love to douche it up.
I'm just grown out of it. I'm just young kids.
Remember when CDs came out? They would say that they're indestructible. Like they would scratch them and throw them.
Yeah, that was not true. They could skip.
No, of course.
But they were a big leap forward. The guy who invented the CD also invented the cassette.
Oh, interesting. Really?
He did both.
This guy's unbelievable.
Yeah. I saw a documentary on the brands that built America or whatever, and this guy fucking he was the bloke.
Yeah.
Because before that we had 8-track. Oh, anyway, we didn't come here to talk. So my parents.
No, we did.
My parents.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Was just CDs and cassettes.
I want to talk Teen Wolf, man.
Yeah, let's talk about your parents.
All right,
And by the way, you can ask me anything, and I'll tell you about my experience in Australia.
Yeah, what happened?
A brawl broke out.
Okay, I've got theories on this. I've
Okay.
got theories on this. I just got back from touring Australia.
Okay.
And people were pushing past me on the street one time, and I saw a couple of bar fights break out, and all type of stuff. And I was like, and then I was like, oh, what's happened with them? America's not like this. America's not like this. Why are these people so rude?
Yeah. Meth.
Guns.
Oh.
I'm the anti-gun guy, but I have come around somewhat.
Oh,
right?
good.
Right, because I don't believe in guns, but I do think that it does make you people more polite.
Interesting. For the people that don't know, Jim Jefferies has this amazing bit. It's an epic, like 15-minute bit on guns in America, and it's one of those bits that you can tell you really put in the time.
Okay, the way I wrote that routine, when you say put in the time, it sort of, I won't say landed in me lap, but I had a sitcom, and I was sitting next to John Ratzenberg, Cliff Clavin from Cheers.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting next to him watching Sandy Hook. Right? And he turns to me and goes, Jimmy, when will this country learn that if those teachers had guns, none of this would have happened? Right?
Oh.
And then I went, you fucking serious? You want to do that? And then we argued, and I had every point of that argument done by about day 4 because I just kept on going, all right. I kept on thinking about this routine. I was like, okay, well, what other reason should you have a gun? Why do you, and he was so pro-gun, and he's a great guy, right? But me and him arguing actually made that routine happen.
Yeah, so. It's interesting because when I read the Rolling Stone article, watched that clip, some of the clip of the gun, and then you getting punched. And I thought, if that had happened in England, you wouldn't, you got punched in England. If that happened in America, you would have been shot.
Exactly. Yeah. Something else. Yeah. That was the whole thing. And also, all the people rushed on stage and got involved. In America, I don't know if they'd get involved. Everyone would just duck and cover.
And you didn't throw a punch? Why didn't you throw up? Were you in shock?
I was in shock, and then it all happened quick. I sort of bent down, I tackled him a little bit, and then there are other. But I tell you what.
But did you get shit from people for not throwing a punch?
You get shit from people from saying hello the wrong way. You know, you're always going to have shit from people.
Yeah.
If you're worried about what fucking shit people said about you, never get out of fucking bed. So yes, of course I had shit from people for not throwing a punch. But also, I came back out. That took resilience. Other people wouldn't come back out. But so these people came up, and I counted maybe 5 people rushed on the stage and helped me out, right? Over the course of time that I've been going to Manchester, I think I've bought 30 drinks for people who claim to be one of those people. So I've stopped it now. I'm not buying any. I was the guy, I came up on stage and, owe you a drink, come on, mate. And then it's like, I made friends with all these people who I think they're full of shit.
You should do a documentary.
Some of
just
them
a short documentary about who really came up on stage.
It's blurry vision. You sort of, I did one Edinburgh show where I sort of had like an iPad that I did it like a sports caster where this guy cut around here and this bloke cut over here and this bloke,
The guy was a southpaw, right? He was a lefty. Because he hit which eye? Your right eye, right?
No. It was I was facing here and he hit me just there. I thought it was a right. I don't know.
You should get Joe Rogan to do commentary over it. That would be funny. So I'm in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
Melbourne,
and I'm doing a show, and I have a lot of Teen Wolf fans, young people, that are going to their first comedy show.
That's always special, though, man. You should be very proud of that. That's something special when you make people who aren't into comedy cross over. So there's a few comics, and I won't name names, but some like boy bandy type comics, good looking lads or whatever. A whole lot of girls go, and a lot of people resent these guys, but at least they're bringing comedy new fans to the art form, right?
Yeah.
So these are people who watch Teen Wolf, and then you made them interested in comedy. What a wonderful thing. Carry on.
I agree. So I'm doing a show. They're at their first comedy show, and I don't know how long I was on stage for, but all of a sudden you hear something happening in the back.
Yeah.
And everybody starts running. So now it's like an episode of Teen Wolf. And a fight broke out. I got the hell off stage. I went, this is at the Comedy Store, Melbourne. Is there a Comedy Store there?
Fuck. They've always been very good to me. The Laughter Lounge.
Yes.
Oh, the Laughter Lounge is in Perth.
No.
What's it called?
Oh, no, you're going to get more crap from the
I'm going to get
the
in
Australians.
fucking trouble for this.
I'm going to call Carl Barron.
I've never met Carl.
Oh, he's great.
I'm a fan.
He took me around when I was in Australia. I met him at the Montreal Just for Laughs Comedy Festival, and he ended up coming in...
Comics Lounge.
Comics Lounge. Carl Barron came and watched my one-man show a couple of times.
Yeah.
And, nice guy.
He's funny.
Great.
Very funny.
Huge in Australia.
One of these blokes who is always bringing out new hour, right? He's not lazy. He tours non-stop.
Yeah. And just mainly in Australia.
In a country with 5 major cities.
Yeah.
That's fucking impressive. That's you got to turn it over a lot then.
You sure do.
Yeah, there's no padding it out like, hey, we've been to Memphis. All right, let's, I just had to name my next tour, and I'm like, 20 minutes of it's written, but there's gigs in a year's time,
Scary.
It always feels weird to name something because you're like, I always name the special something different because the show's evolved, and now I know what it's called.
Right.
And now, so this new tour is called Son of a Carpenter. It's like it's because my father's a carpenter and a Jesus reference or whatever. It's just a fun Son of a Carpenter.
Yeah, I like that.
And a bit wordy. I normally like one word.
Right.
But anyway, you were saying, so a fight breaks out.
So a fight breaks out. I want to get back to how you produce comedy or write comedy. So a fight breaks out. I have the video. I've never released the video.
Right.
Because I don't want that venue to get in trouble or feel bad or dissuade people from, but I have video, and the best part about it is...
That's a 1 foot high stage, just for the people. It's a 1 foot high stage in a long room that seats, I would argue, 400.
Yeah.
So a lot of people.
All the way to the back.
And you're very accessible to the audience. There's no barrier between you and the audience. We're all one in this room.
And I thought maybe this is what they do in Australia. They just, maybe there's a mid-show fist fight that breaks out.
That's not what we do.
Okay. I haven't watched in years, but I remember guys taking their shirts off. They're big. But then out of nowhere, a pizza paddle thing. You know the thing that you take the pizza?
Yeah.
That comes flying out of nowhere and joins in on the brawl.
I don't even think they sell pizza there.
I don't think they do. I don't know where it came from.
Maybe downstairs, an upstairs comedy club. Maybe there's a place downstairs or something.
I don't know, but I've never released the footage. And these poor kids were so traumatized. Actually, I don't want to use that word. I'm so sick of No, I wrote it down. I'm not kidding. I was going to open by talking about this. But what happened was I had to come back on stage like you did and calm everybody down and try and do jokes. And it was sort of like, we were all united in this horrible experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had fights break out stuff. I've had fights break out and then they break it up and they let the people just sit there and enjoy the rest of the show.
Oh, that's remarkable. I've had that as well. I had one bloke that was just causing too much trouble, and I said, "All right, you got to get him out." This was like in a real big gig, and then he just wouldn't leave.
Yeah,
and security's like, "We can't touch him."
Right?
Not going. They can't just physically grab him.
I know.
It's I remember once seeing on a train in England. I travelled everywhere by train. And there's tickets. Bloke comes through the little hat, like something out of Harry Potter. Tickets, please.
Biglietta.
Yeah, and he's gonna punch your ticket, dunk, like this. And then there's one bloke like this, and he goes tickets, and the guy just looked forward. Tickets. And the guy didn't say anything. He goes, "All right, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble." And then I thought, they've got no power.
Yeah. They're not going to stop the train for this one guy.
Stop the train. This guy just looked forward. And he's like, "All right, fuck you then. You're all right." And then like security came at like a couple of stops on. Security came and got him.
Yeah.
And went, "All right, you got to get off the train." He goes, "This is my stop anyway."
Wow. Timed it well.
Yeah.
Nobody...
Might not have been. It was just a fucking fuck you. That was all it was. You know, might not have been, but he didn't want them to know that they beat him in anyway.
Yeah. I have a theory. Nobody listens to law enforcement anymore, police. Certainly not in America. You know, they just walk into stores and just steal stuff and just walk out. They don't care. They're not worried about being arrested. They know.
I had a credit card that I activated it, and then I went and bought some tires at a local tire place.
Yeah.
Right? That was the only charge this credit card had ever had in its whole life. And then that tire store started purchasing car parts on my credit card, right? To the tune of a few $1,000s, right? And I'm like, hey, I rang them up and I said, I know who's stolen the credit card number and I know who's doing this because I've only used it once. And they're like this, the bank will handle this. They don't give a fuck.
Don't care.
They don't want to get wrapped up in this whole thing.
Yeah.
So like, fuck it. What am I going to do? Call the cops and go, I know this, but they stole $3,000.
Yeah. But right? you never had to pay it, right? You weren't responsible.
No, the bank just went like this. And then you know what? They're still the fucking cheapest tires in town, right? And there's a bit of me that's like, maybe I should just buy tires off them and cancel the credit card really quickly. With the full knowledge that they're crooks, I'm like, maybe.
You think that they were the ones, or do you think
they were buying car parts?
Oh,
but also credit card fraud. It's like they bought things online. Just follow the address that they put in. They stand there and wait for these things to be delivered. These crimes are the easiest crimes, and they're just like,
When did criminals get into selling ties?
Yeah.
That's a weird fence. You know what I think is amazing is...
No, tires.
Oh, tires. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, tires.
Tires.
I go, first of all, I'm going, why is Jim Jefferies wear ties?
No,
tires, sorry.
Funerals going on. I was buying tires for my car.
Got it. Oh, that makes sense.
And then they bought car parts.
Yeah, those tires are criminal people. Yeah. I go to Costco now. No, but I think it's amazing how they find fraud so quickly. Like American Express, they are so fast at shutting down fraud, like somebody using my credit card.
Yeah.
But then when I bought this house, I bought a ladder. I'd never owned a ladder in my life.
Right. Well, you got to have a ladder.
Got to have a ladder.
You got to change light bulbs inside. You need a small one and a big one.
Right. So I got a 6-footer.
Yeah.
And then
that's your indoor one.
No, but I have some lights that I can't reach.
Oh, no, it does it out here as well. Yeah.
So I had to buy I went back and then I bought an 8-footer one. Right. And that's great, but then I couldn't get up onto the roof. So then I went back for a third time and got one of those ladders that like just extends up to like 20 feet. So now I'm up to 3 ladders, right? You think American Express would shut that down? I made it my entire life. Never bought a ladder. All of a sudden I bought 3 in a week.
Yeah, but how many times have you just been like, you got to use your credit card and they're like, because you're a comedian, because you have a gypsy lifestyle, you're traveling around all the time, they block my credit card all the time.
Yeah.
Go,
oh, shit.
I told you, I travel around a lot. Can you please activate it? Okay, just checking. And then you're also happy that they're being vigilant.
Right. Yeah. So I'm sick of the word triggered, traumatized, and PTSD, and I'll tell you why.
I'm sick of gaslighting.
Yeah.
Because there is a thing such as gaslighting.
Yeah.
But now, whenever you're in an argument with anyone, you're gaslighting me. No, I'm arguing my point.
Right. I agree.
I'm arguing my point. This isn't gaslighting because you're not happy with what I'm saying.
I said to my girlfriend, have you seen my cell phone? She goes, stop gaslighting me. It's like, And
also, I have a relative who says this, I suffer from anxiety. We all do.
Right.
Everyone does.
Right.
It's not fun. But that's our fear mechanism.
Yes.
Right? That's our fucking survival. Like, I'm not happy about this. Social anxiety for me has gotten worse over the years because of just, I worry, I'm just with age, I think, where and also I'm not boozing anymore and stuff like that. But it's this idea that I suffer from anxiety.
Yeah.
And then she went to me, she goes, and I have a doctor who confirmed it. Is there a doctor on earth that's going to say no?
Right.
Is there a doctor on earth that you go, I suffer from anxiety, I get really nervous, and I worry all the time? No, you don't.
Right.
Yeah, you do. Oh, okay, well, it seems like you're not handling, do you want a bit of Xanax or whatever, you know what I mean? Or some coping thing. But of course, it's same as when I was getting diagnosed with dyslexia, I remember being worried that the doctor was going to say no. And the doctor said, we've never said no. Any parent who's brought their child in with dyslexia has had dyslexia.
Right. Like you kind of know. Remember when they first legalized pot, but you had to have like a license?
Yeah.
Right? I wanted to go in. Like they have a huge check. Do you suffer anxiety, depression? Do you can't sleep? Do you have back problems? I was going to go in and say no to every one of those and tape it and see if I still got approved for a license.
Headaches, yes.
No, I'd say no. I would turn to, hey, do you have anxiety? No anxiety. How do you sleep? Great.
Well, I remember going in there like, all right, I was getting my weed card, and I was like, okay, I get headaches, I suffer from depression, and I went like this. So I go in, I've got all this list of stuff, and this doctor, they flip open a laptop, right? I'm on a card table, one of those old card tables, in the back of the weed store, and this guy is like literally like playing on his phone, and he's like, so any complaints you have? I go, I get headaches, and he goes, all right, go to the front, get your card. And I was like,
that's what I'm saying. It's the easiest.
Headaches.
Yeah. Do you know the origin of gaslighting?
I don't know, no.
Because I'm a gaslight originalist.
Right. You're a historian of gaslighting.
No, you know, like the constitutional people that it has to be the word of the Constitution. I'm like that with gaslighting. So the original was a guy would turn the gaslight on in the attic, and he would say to his wife, "Oh, you left the gaslight on." And she's like, "I wasn't even up there." He goes, "Oh, you must have. It's on." And he kept doing that, right? So now when people, you're gaslighting, not according to the original. No, I didn't leave a gaslight on in the attic, or I didn't accuse you of that.
I know. But my wife will say to you, "Don't gaslight me." Well, I just asked why our child hasn't been picked up from school. You can't ask any, because of social media and memes. They're going to throw terms at you that you've never even heard of before. You know what I mean? Like every week you're accused of something new. It's crazy. And you said you didn't like, what was the ones that you didn't?
I'm socially triggered.
Triggered.
So people, I'm triggered. They'll say that. That just triggered me.
I find that very triggering.
Yeah, I get triggered by people using the word triggered.
Yes. Well, of course, but that's also a natural reaction to life, that there's things that affect you. Oh, that really affected me, what you said, is what we used to say. Or I find that disturbing.
But also,
But like to find it triggering, the idea that what you said is affected their personal life so deeply that you know what I mean? It's very
How about
weird.
Keep it to yourself?
Yeah.
How about we all have issues all day? We don't have to announce it. You know, like you probably have trauma from being punched on stage.
I have trauma from my childhood. I had someone commit suicide in their life. I to this day, I never joke about suicide or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I don't give a fuck if other people do. Like if some comic goes, go kill yourself or whatever, you know what I mean? It's not, but it's something to me that does trigger me a little bit. But as you said, I keep it to my fucking
But you
self.
live in this world.
I understand that this is my issue.
Yeah.
Not yours, my issue.
Yeah, one of my specials, I joke about how I don't believe in gluten allergies. It's a joke, right?
Yeah.
I've been threatened by people with gluten. They're angry people.
Oh yeah.
Guy said, "You ever come to Montana? I'll be waiting for you." I
tell you what, I found out about celiac disease. Right when I was dating in LA.
Yeah.
Every hot chick had celiac disease. Just tell me you're not eating carbs.
Don't tell me what?
Just tell me you're not eating carbs. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You like being thin.
Yeah.
I get it. It was always hot thin girls like, I got celiac, because no one wanted to admit to.
But nobody's talking about it now. Notice, like, I predicted 2017. I go, it's just a way to sell more food. You don't see gluten-free aisles anymore.
No. Oh, yeah, it's all but over, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and celiac was a big... And then everyone was taking allergen tests, and I'm allergic to this, I'm allergic to that, I'm allergic to this. Blah, blah. I can't... The only thing I can't eat now, and it's because I had a kidney stone, which is living hell.
Right.
Living hell. I'm not allowed oxalates.
What is that?
Oxalates are in sesame seeds, so tahini, and I love sesame seeds. Beets have them. I love beets. Soy and miso is packed with oxalates as well.
And why live?
Because when you piss out the stone, they take it. Yeah. They take the rock, right?
Yeah.
And I wish they gave it back to me. I would have made a ring or something.
Just made a suicide joke for you. That was horrible. You missed it. Yeah. I was trying to trigger you.
I block them out.
Yeah. Now I got to edit it out. She's great.
But so they take the rock and they test it, and I thought it was going to be the classics.
Yeah.
Red meat, too much cheese.
Right.
Are you drinking too much soda? All the fun things, right? I thought it was going to be sugar.
Yeah.
You have to, sugar. And then they were like, beets. I'm like, these are the things that I eat when I'm trying to feel healthy in a restaurant.
Yeah.
I will have the beet and goat cheese salad, thank you very much, because I'm a good person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
with balsamic drizzle.
Sushi with soy sauce is me like having a go at life.
Yeah. So you can have sushi but no soy sauce.
If I'm in a restaurant, I just muscle it out and have the soy sauce. And if I'm at home, I have like no soy sauce or whatever.
Yeah.
Like to put on the sushi myself. But I look, if I get another kidney stone, so be it, man. You got to live your life back.
Yeah, but you said it was so bad. How long did it take to pass?
2 days. And there's a break in the middle. So it goes from your kidney to your bladder.
It's a halftime.
And then it sits in your bladder. You get a nice 12 hours off.
Ooh.
But it's coming. Now it's going. It's going from your bladder to out your cock, right?
Yeah.
Now the kidney to your bladder is worse than the bladder to the cock. Which you
Wait, say that again?
The kidney to the bladder is worse than the bladder through the cock. The first half is the worst bit.
Oh, okay.
The urethra is 4 times the width of the cord from your kidney to your bladder, which I don't, so and it just I remember seeing it go down my cock like a fucking emu eating a coconut, man. I could see it.
Oh,
going.
Really?
Yeah, I could see it.
I thought they were like really small.
It was poking out the side of my, and anyway, so I had it in Canada in I think it was London, Ontario.
That's a good province to be in.
Yeah, I think it was London.
Because it's Toronto close by.
And we drove to Ottawa afterwards, so maybe it wasn't London.
Somehow that's the capital, I think.
Yeah, it is the capital.
Yeah, you'd never know it's the capital.
But
it's like a little cow town.
I was in the emergency room and I came in just sweat pouring off me. I thought my appendix had burst.
Yeah.
Right? I was just and they gave me a shot. Right, and the thing, and I was laying on my side on some chairs, just, like this, right, and then like. Because it's a small sort of student-y town, a lot of people in the waiting room had been at the show the night before, right? And being Canadians, bless them, right? So up we have Michael. Your turn, Michael. Like this, right? And Michael's like, you know what? I think Jim should go first.
Yeah, that's so polite.
Like, he seems like he's in a lot of. Thank you, Michael. Right. And then I went in. The doctor had been at the show as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was.
Not that many people that go to a show get to see the performer's penis the next day.
Exactly. It was so she went. Oh, it's your appendix, whatever. They gave me a shot of.
Misdiagnosed.
They gave me a shot of morphine or something like that, and then they put me into the MRI machine that went like that. And then they went, oh, you have a massive kidney stone. And they gave me 2 more shots. They tripled my dose of painkillers from the appendix.
Yeah.
Right? And the lady said to me, she said, I've had 4 children and 2 kidney stones. And the kidney stones were far worse.
Wait a minute. Right. Women can get kidney stones too?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And she goes, the kidney stones were far worse than giving childbirth. Right?
Interesting.
So I go back saying this to my wife.
Yeah.
Oh, it's worse than child. You're not allowed to say it. They've made a rule where even a woman told me this, who's a doctor, said it's more painful than childbirth, but I'm not allowed to say it because they have this trump card that we can never prove.
It's gaslighting.
Yeah, it's gaslighting.
It's gaslighting.
It's gaslighting. She goes, oh, you can't say that. I'm telling you, it was worse. I was with her for the birth. She wasn't screaming and fucking pounding a table.
Yeah. I got to tell everybody, now I'm looking at the camera, if you live in Ontario, in that province in Canada, and your name is Michael, you go up to Jim Jefferies and you say, I was in the emergency room that day, and I told them to take you first because you look like you were in more pain.
A couple of people, because they went, well, we have to go in order. And then a few people in the waiting room was like, oh, let him go through. Look at him.
Yeah, they're so polite.
It was, you could see I was just sweating. I was drenched in sweat. And you could see that there was like physical, like real pain going on. But then when I went home, I got on a plane when it was in my bladder to get back to LA. I did a show that night, right? Just on morphine.
Yeah, once you pass it, you're okay.
Yeah, it got into my bladder and I was on morphine and that, and I can't really remember it and like that. I never read the reviews of a show afterwards on Ticketmaster or anything like that, but I did for that one because I went, oh God. And they were like, He was in a lot of pain, but he put on a hell of a show. They sort of, obviously I mentioned it a few times, but I have no recollection of that performance.
Interesting.
Nothing. Blackout, like through the whole show.
Did anybody in your team say, hey, maybe take the night off?
I would have had to go. I looked at it this way. If the show turned out badly, I would have come up and made it up and given them all ticket money again. But look, I can still remember my set, and I've been funny blackout drunk before. What is the difference?
Right. And you know what? Like the real fans would enjoy the unique experience of that.
Exactly. Okay, so Oasis are back together. I'm going to 2 shows. Mm-hmm. Me, Steve Byrne, Josh Adamire, and Adam Egan are going out to London. Right?
Wow. Steve Byrne can afford to go to London?
Yeah,
are you paying or are you?
No.
Wow, Steve's come a long way.
Steve and me
down there
are
in
big
Memphis.
Oasis guys, right?
Interesting.
Big Oasis guys, and that's what we sort of bond on. And I don't know if we've ever had a discussion outside of Oasis, but like we're the 2 blokes that text each other like they've got a new song coming out. And also we've followed these 2 men like my wife watches The Real Housewives of whatever.
Really?
Well, for 15 years they've been arguing, and then they almost get back together, and then they don't get back together.
They get punched on stage every night by their brother.
And they've been punched on stage as well one time. One time Noel got punched, and then Liam sort of like that, right? But we find, and then like, can't they just get along? We want them to make up. And then when the photo came out with the 2 of them, it was like, and then so Josh Adamire as well. We all got in a group chat. We gotta go, right?
Wow.
So I've never been more excited about anything ever. But then they announced
even more than the birth of your children or child.
I wasn't that excited. I get more excited about them being about 3 or 4, and then finding their personality and all that type of stuff. Yeah, the birth was always very stressful. I didn't find that a fun day at all.
Yeah, okay.
I found the birth both of them very stressful days. But they came out with American dates, and so I bought 2 tickets to the American dates. I'm going to take my 11-year-old to the American shows, and I'm going to go with the lads to the London show. I hope out of those 2, going back to the thing, I hope out of those 2 performances, one of them's a car wreck.
Yeah.
Because I want to see one good one and one with...
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I was talking to Bill Burr on the last episode, and we were talking about developing material. Yeah. And, you know, he'll go up on stage. Like, he did the Belly Room at the Comedy Store the other day, went on after me. And I said, how do you feel? Like, are you up there thinking, hey, you know, I hope the audience isn't thinking, hey, this guy was at the bowl? Like, what is this material he's doing? And, like, developing. And he said he actually enjoys bombing at times when he's doing new material. I hope I'm paraphrasing this correctly, Bill.
Well, I sort of get that. I normally work in new jokes when I'm on the road in between 2 good jokes. I try to put one new one in there and sometimes I'll even say, hey, you want to hear a new bit I'm working on? You know, just to give the caveat of this might be shit. Right. And then you can also finish with, there's something there, I'll work on it.
I also think that you, Bill, myself, we all have a personality that I think our audience is familiar with, so they will get, you know, where we're going or the frustration of not getting the results we want. But I think it's courageous of Bill. Like, I would think it would be really hard to go up on stage yourself and Bill, like, after having a special and trying to do like 20 new minutes at the store in front of a sold-out crowd when you got people like me that are just like, I'm going for the fence.
Yeah. Although, mind you, I was on before Bill the other night, and he was trying out new stuff, and he fucking walked all over me.
Really?
Yeah, but I
think you're being polite.
Yeah, no, I had a fine set. But he was very good. He's very good.
Yeah. You were going to talk about, well, I want to say PTSD, because this is what I said in my head the other day. This is how, when people misuse these words or are using them when they shouldn't use them. Like I say PTSD and trauma for people that have been like victims of big crimes or have been in war and they have PTSD from that. I was getting ready for a show and I'm like, I should go look at my notes. And so I go, let me just make sure that.
I dated a girlfriend who actually said she had PTSD from an ex-boyfriend that didn't hit her or anything. It was just like gaslighting guy. And you're like, I believe I have some post-traumatic stress disorder from my childhood. There's a few things from my childhood that I find weigh me down. But that's not like, as you're saying, it's not like people overuse it. Like,
well, listen to what I said.
That's given me PTSD.
Yeah, I didn't want to go into my bag of jokes to go through the jokes. I was like, I'm not in the mood. I said, I have PTSD from going into those, being on the road and having to go. And I thought, this is ridiculous. But this is because people misuse the word.
Sure.
It should be for the highest. Like, weren't you a victim of a crime too? Didn't somebody break into your...
Me and Steve Hughes, who's another Australian comic, we're living in Manchester, and we had a couple of blokes come through the window of our house and tie me up and hold a machete to my throat.
Manchester sounds lovely.
Oh, yeah.
You punch there.
And I still have a soft spot for that town. I still like the people.
You got held up by a machete?
Yeah, they went to prison for 12 years.
Whoa, have you told this story before?
I've told it. I used to tell it on stage, and I've told it on podcasts and stuff like that. But I used to have I can't remember, I had a funny version of it. And I can't really remember the jokes that I said because it all just sounds. But I used to do it as like a 20-minute bit or whatever. My girlfriend at the time was asleep in the other room, and me and him were watching The Unforgiven. Okay. And I remember we had like a joint being passed back and forth, right? So we're a little high as well. Yeah. And then the door behind me in the living room opens up. I hear some footsteps on the steps, but I thought that was her going. There was a bathroom upstairs and not one downstairs. Okay. Right, old English. And I thought that was her going up to the bathroom. And they'd climbed up the drain pipe out the side of the house that went to the toilet. They had the window open. It was a summer's day, and they'd gone through that, and then they'd come down the stairs. And I was just watching TV, and a machete just went, whoa, to my throat. And then Steve just like this. And so they sort of just kept me hostage. And then I remember the guys like, where's the fucking drugs, right? They thought we were drug dealers. Because we were just blokes who never seemed to go to work.
I thought you were too.
Yeah. and we had a little tin of pot. And I remember Steve, where's the drugs? And he just sort of pushed it along the table. There was maybe $50 worth of weed.
Okay.
And he's like, what do you think? Yeah. And then they basically stole things that by today's standards aren't even worth money. DVD players.
Oh, I love when I watch old crime shows and they're like, she was murdered because a guy broke in to steal her VCR. And I'm like, if she could have just made it to the DVDs,
yeah.
she'd still be alive.
And they loaded up my car, and I had a secondhand BMW. I'd just come into my first bit of success or whatever, but it wasn't in Europe. They're a lot cheaper than here, and it was maybe an 8-year-old car, but it was my pride and joy.
Yeah.
And they took that, and then I got untied. I had a small cut, and I remember I was holding this blood up to a towel up to my head, and I was shaking my hands. I was calling 911, right? And then we get a knock on the door. Who is it? Like they're back like this, right? And the cops just were like this. We caught him. This is before we'd called 911.
How did they get him?
There was 2 lads in fucking ski masks that were rolled up on their head.
Yeah.
Driving in July.
Yeah.
In summer with ski masks on their head.
And a machete, which is hard to conceal.
Driving around, racing around in a BMW at 2 a.m. They just looked like criminals type of blokes, right? And then the police went, woo! And then rather than pulling over, they went and sped off. And I didn't know all this because I remember getting the car back and like, the suspension's a bit like this. I'm in court watching my car in a high-speed chase.
Wow, so you had to testify?
Yeah.
And so do you have it? Are they out of jail?
They'd have to be, but it's been more than 12 years, and they would have been out 7 years in good behavior.
Aren't you worried? Do you worry? You've now told the joke on stage.
I look at it this way: that would put them back in prison for a very long time. Going after their victim for a second time would.
I don't know if they care. Do they care?
Look, man, I got to live in this world, man. I got to believe that.
You're ballsier than me.
I got to believe that.
I'm afraid the person that threw the pizza thing in Melbourne might come after me.
I'll tell you a funny story that reminded me of the pizza thing. Right? I'm in Des Moines, and I'm on stage, and I'm telling them a bit, and then the audience at one go, the fucking bat comes out.
Oh.
You know how they're such an erratic fly?
Yeah.
They're not graceful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this bat's come out like this, and the audience is a bat. So, whoo. There's no more comedy to be done. There's a fucking bat flying around the room.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like the audience can't focus. There's a bat. That's game over. right? And so the bat's flying around like this. And so I'm trying to like sort of, all right, everyone, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then I went, shut the curtain. I went off stage. I went, shut the curtain when he comes back this way. Mm-hmm. Keep him encaged in this area, right? And I'll perform in the little bit in front of the curtain.
You're directing all this?
Yeah.
You're like this, Steve Irwin.
I said this to
the bat hunter.
Right? So I go, all right, curtain shut. And then behind me is fucking, it sounds like a Three Stooges movie behind me. There's just people, there's ladders being propped up and falling over and, oh, he's coming. And so I'm like, this isn't fucking working either. And then the manager's like this. He pops out like it's a bit and he goes, I'm so sorry, Jim. This has never happened before. This has never happened before. So sorry. Anyway, 5 minutes later, the cunt comes back with like a great big butterfly net. You know, one of those big long sticks with the hoop with the long net on it.
Yeah, Iowa should be able to handle this.
Yeah, but I'm like, wait a minute. You said this has never happened before.
Right.
And you have a fucking bat net?
Yeah.
You have a bat net, cunt.
Yeah.
Don't fucking lie to me.
Yeah.
You got a bat net.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, it's like, I was reading the reviews, it was just like this. There's always bats there.
Oh, really?
Like a few people like, this is the fourth show I've been to, and the third time bats have shown up. You know?
I was at a fancy restaurant in L.A. a couple of weeks ago and saw a rat in the restaurant. Didn't comp us anything. They gave us dessert for free. But I felt self-conscious saying...
The chocolate drops on the top? It certainly is.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But they said, oh, this never happens. And then I noticed in the corner of the restaurant were those rat trap things, those black boxes.
Well, I was near it's called Uluru now. Uluru, which is the big rock in Australia. You've seen that?
Yeah.
You've seen photos of it. It's worth. I'll tell you what's interesting about it. It's the only place on Earth that when the sun's setting, and it's a beautiful sunset, everyone's facing the opposite direction because we're all watching the color of the rock. So you'll have a huge crowd and the sun setting behind you. And never in the world have I seen anyone not face the sunset and look at it duck down at the end of the day.
This is like Plato's cave.
Yeah.
Do you understand that? Where you don't look at the fire directly because it's so hard. It's like reality, life is hard to look at. So you look at the shadows on the wall, the reflection. Right. It's kind of like, it's very
it's
Plato's
beautiful.
cave.
It's a huge thing. It's long, and let's just to put it in context, it's long, but at its tallest point, it's taller than the Eiffel Tower. Right? And it doesn't look that tall because it's so long, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was there staying at a resort. I had that stage, my son was 2 or 3, and my girlfriend, the mum, and we were staying in this resort, and these fucking mice, like not a couple of them, were running over my feet.
We're in your bed?
In this 5-star restaurant, the mice were running across the floor like this, and I went, hey, I know we're in the desert, but there's fucking tons of mice running over. It turns out these mice are super endangered, and they have more rights there than the people who own the restaurant.
That's unbelievable.
You're not allowed to kill them. They're a particular mice that only lives in this area. They're an endangered species, and they're like, yeah, no, we know that, sir, but they have more rights than we do. We're not allowed to kill them. What would you like to eat?
And did you enjoy the meal after that?
It's the only restaurant in town.
Oh, God.
You're next to the rock.
Yeah.
That's all there is.
So no discount. So maybe I didn't deserve a discount.
But that's what, if I owned a restaurant, I'd go, oh, that's the LA indigenous rat.
Yeah.
I'd love to help you out, but
I'd never seen one in a restaurant before.
Oh, that's one from Van Nuys. It's very rare they get out this part of town.
Yeah. You know what happened to me once at a comedy club? I was just thinking about it.
You must have seen a rat in a comedy club.
Oh, I've seen them, like the top of the stage. I've seen them like, it's hard to explain, but there's like a fake wall in some of these clubs. I've seen a rat running through there, but I had something very interesting happen to me on stage once that I don't think I've ever talked about publicly, because I was always concerned if my parents heard it, they would not be happy with me doing stand-up. In fact, it happened in New York City, and I stopped doing stand-up for a month. I was so in shock by it. I was at I don't want to say what club, but Dave Attell was on before me. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of guys in the front row, 3 guys. And they were real tough looking guys. And they looked maybe like mobsters.
Sure.
And Attell got up there and did that bit. He goes, you know who should do the lottery on the news? The mafia. Because they know what the numbers are ahead of time. So it should be the lotto numbers tomorrow are 12, 15, blah, blah, blah. Congratulations again, Gino, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Horrible impression of Dave Attell. But he walked off stage, and Dave is one of those guys that never says anything to anybody.
No.
And he said to me, be careful of those guys. Right? He never said anything. I get up on stage. I do the opposite. I'm not going to address them. I'm going to look over them and do like a Disney type happy act. Yeah. Guess what? They didn't like that.
No.
Right?
They want to be acknowledged.
So I'm halfway through and
this fucking guy. What is this fucking guy?
He stands up. Now, did I say the club? I didn't say the club. No, you
didn't say the club.
Okay, they have a very short stage. So the guy's, he's right there with me.
I know where you are.
And he said, what time do you get off work? I thought, I'll be done in 15 minutes. Now I'm looking around. Is there anybody else I'm looking for Godfrey. I'm looking for people that are competent, that could handle a situation. And the guy goes like this, and he's got a gun.
Yeah.
And he said, we'll be waiting for you. And I got off that stage, and I ran out of there, and I did not go back for a month. I didn't do any comedy. In fact, and I remember I put it in my journal and everything. It was one of the scariest, and it didn't make sense to me because I wasn't addressing them, but because I wasn't addressing them.
So he just picked on you because you didn't talk to him. Did they talk to you first in any way?
Nope.
The straight up?
No, they were like, if you were like doing a bit, they were trying to insert themselves in the act. I was ignoring it, talking over them, like thinking, I'm going to settle this down a little bit for the next person who was probably, a Chappelle or something. And it's a strange feeling when you're just trying to make somebody laugh.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying about the guns make everyone polite. You know what I mean? Like,
not that guy didn't seem polite.
No, but you were polite to him, I'm sure.
Oh, I sure was. And one of them, not the guy who stood up, was a very famous wrestler. And I'd have to go back and look my notes. He's since died, but had been convicted of pulling a gun on somebody. So this might be what they do.
Yeah, he's pulling the gun over. I just watched, like, the thing about the guns is, it leaves what's wrong with just beating someone up? It's so final.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, pulling a gun, and it's also like, you punch someone, you're like, I thought he was coming at me, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you fucking shoot someone, fucking hell.
Yeah. Well, we were at the Comedy Store the other night. Yeah. I said to you...
Someone got shot out the front of that, remember?
Yeah.
Someone got shot just in that little fucking thing, just bang, in front of everyone.
I said to you, because I have a theory that because there's no guns in Australia, on this podcast, I talk a lot about Australian crime.
Right.
I don't know why, but you guys have some really unique...
We're criminals, man. We've been criminals for 240 years.
Yeah, what were you going to say about your dad, your parents? You were going to say something earlier.
I was just saying that it felt like a natural progression for me to go to England because my parents met in England and I'd heard so much of England. My parents talked about England like it was this magical place. Magical place, and that that was just... And it was for me. London was for me like a magic. And you know what it was? It was like my first time living overseas, away from my family. I'd been to university or whatever, but it felt like I was getting my life started.
Yeah.
So I have a very soft, and sometimes I romance London, I think, because also I was there from 20 to 30, and
those are your best years.
I fucked I had sex with a lot of women. You know what I mean? That's the years you do it. Right? You know, like, and going out to bars and popping ecstasy and all that type of stuff. Of course, it's a magical place.
Right.
I have a theory on that's why a lot of Jewish people love Israel so much, is because of they have that 2 week where you go over there called Heritage Week or something like that.
Yeah.
And so if you're 18 years old and you're Jewish, doesn't matter, the Israeli government will pay for you to come over and you can hang out with all your mates and all that type of stuff. And I think that's why they think the place rocks so much, because they come from a country where drinking is
kind of smart.
Drinking
you know what I mean?
is 21.
Australia invites you over, you got to pick fruit. Exactly. Israel's like, come over and party for 2 weeks. And then
we'll teach you a bit about your religion. We'll teach you a bit of heritage, and you'll learn all these different things.
Yeah.
But you'll be away from your family with a whole lot of other 18-year-olds.
Right.
They're all fucking each other without a shadow of a doubt, right? And they're all drinking legally. Because I remember I went and did a gig in Israel, and there was all these young Americans, because I was there in that 2 weeks, right? And there were about 300 people in the audience were young Americans, like, fucking hell, man, doesn't Israel rock, dude? It fucking rocks. And I'm like, oh, you're an 18-year-old who's just drinking legally for the first time.
Right.
Of course it's magical.
Yeah.
And that's what London was to me. It was this magical place where I fucking was doing drugs and fucking hanging out and
held up by a machete, punched on stage.
That's Manchester. You can't blame London for that. Yeah. But also just getting on the tube and that whole thing about with New York's the only city as well that does this, where I'm doing 5 sets in a night.
Right.
There's only 2 cities on earth that does this.
Yep.
You know, you can double up in Chicago. You can double up in, you could do 2 or 3 here in LA.
I used to do 22 shows in a weekend.
Yeah.
Which Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 22 shows.
Crazy. Because that's when people say, like, how many shows have you done? I said, well over 3,000.
Yeah.
Right.
And by the way, those are all A rooms. That's Cellar, Gotham, Stand-Up, Strip, Caroline's. You just...
Yeah. And there's only 2 cities on earth.
Yeah.
And so there's something magical about that as well. And it's like, I used to like the feeling of getting on the tube and then my phone didn't work, because I'm underground.
Yeah.
I'm like, fucking hell, I might not make it to this gig. And then you'd pop out and duck out into the street, and then, I'll be there in 5 minutes, running down the road, getting onto another set. And then, there's always the ecosystem of those cities with comedians. There's always one cunt who can fuck you over, because this cunt always runs 10 minutes over.
Yeah. You
got to keep the time, because we've all got to get to another place.
Okay, let's discuss this. I've never talked about this on the podcast. LA's got a real problem with comics sticking to their time.
Yeah.
In New York,
you have to stick to your time in New York, and you have to in London for that express reason that I just said, because
they'll ban you, though.
People are getting to their next gig. Don't fuck over.
Comedy Cellar's not putting up with it.
Yeah, because if you do it at that club, you're fucking over this club.
Yeah.
Because that person's not getting over here on time.
But here, I've never seen...
Yeah, no good here.
Yeah.
No good.
And I take it, like, I'm the last one on the show. Sometimes I take it personally. Like, everybody's going over 5 minutes. Now the audience is exhausted. The whole show is thrown off by when you're supposed to drop the check. It screws it up. But here, it's really disrespectful. In New York, here's what I loved about New York. I loved that they only put funny people on. They didn't give a shit about your credits.
You do have some problems here in LA. There's a lot of actors who have maybe aged out or not gotten acting roles for a while. There's a lot of really good-looking women who do stand-up comedy in LA. Really good look. And it's like, I used to be on Baywatch, and now I'm, you know what I mean? And,
and like, I'll say this about you, because when I think about having a podcast guest on, and I don't invite a lot of people on, and people will want to come on, and I'll think, I don't know what I would talk about with this person. Yeah. But I knew with you, at minimum, you knew how to have a conversation, and there'd be a great back and forth, because you're funny.
Oh,
you're a funny person.
You are too, Orny. Thank you. That's very nice of you.
And I was looking forward to, even though this is the most we've ever talked.
Yeah, but I've got a healthy respect for you, Orny, man. I've always liked you. You're always a face that if I see you in the dressing room, I'm happy to see you.
Yeah.
Me and you always give each other a hug, and I'm happy to see you.
Yeah, the other day at the store, I walked. You go to the store, you open that door to the green room. You don't know what energy is on the other side.
Yeah.
And you always pop up and give me a hug. One of the, the first people, which I appreciate. For sure. Where was I going with this before?
People running over.
Yeah.
In this town. Credits.
Yeah, but we'll go back to the guns thing, because that's where I was going to get into with this article. If you do you have a couple more minutes?
Yeah, man.
Okay. So, that's what I wanted to say. And I did you were the first podcast I ever did in like 2010 or 2011.
We were ahead of the game back then, man. That was like, we were a top 5. Me and Eddie used to do it. We were a top 5 podcast in the world.
Shit.
There was no money in it then, and it was like, maybe if we stuck to it or something, it would have been something. But life. It's also with podcasts. It's like, you go off and do another one, and then you reinvent and do another one. Do 3 years of this one, and then go off and do another. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
It's like sitcoms, right? They run their course eventually, and then, you know, the one that I did, I don't know about that. The whole premise of the podcast was we had an expert on. I was sick of talking to comics all the time. I thought, well, have an expert, and then I'll make jokes about that topic, right? And so one episode would be like how cheese was made, and I would, you know, you'd learn a little bit, and
I saw one on healthcare.
Yeah, exactly. So, but
I was amazed you knew so much about Canadian healthcare and Australian and
by the time you get to 200 topics, you're like, what's this one about?
Yeah.
The gamification of children's apps. Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll have a go.
Yeah.
Right. But like I liked it when it was the healthcare thing. I feel like that's one of the things with America that I could live here forever, and I've learnt to stop talking about it on stage because it's just not something you guys are on board with, and I'm sick of arguing about it.
I talk about it.
Yeah, well,
American healthcare.
But with my accent, it's no good.
No, well, I thought what made your gun bit so brilliant was you were an outsider making this observation, which was so smart. People should go back and revisit this bit from 2016 or 2017 special.
Something around then. Yeah, it didn't, it did nothing. That special did okay, but then it got triple the ratings after. But it took like another massacre for this to happen, for that routine to start being handed around. But
do you worry about producing material? Coming up with new topics?
I try my best. I really do work hard in the sense that, I try to write as much material as possible and try to bring out as much stuff as possible. And maybe some of it's, obviously some of it's way better than other bits, you know what I mean? But I not for lack of trying. Yeah. And it does get harder.
Yeah.
It does get harder as you get older. And it does get harder as you're less hungry, in the sense that me and my wife are really happy.
Happiness doesn't help. It does not help with comedy.
Yeah, me and my wife are really happy. That's not good.
Yeah, not good at all. Stupid. I was writing a bit yesterday about the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
And as I'm writing it, like, I'm going, this is great. I can't wait to tell this on stage. And then an hour later, I thought, somebody's going to tell me somebody already does a bit.
That's every joke. It's every joke. I don't watch any comedy anymore. Every bloody joke, someone's got something similar and stuff. You just do your best.
Yeah, man. I mean, you look under comments under my videos, I go, oh, this guy's like Bill Burr. Bill and I started together in Boston. I don't watch Bill. I don't watch you. I don't watch anybody.
No, we don't. We keep to ourselves. And then also, when someone goes, oh, that's like a bit that someone used to do. Mate, if you put it into Twitter, you'll see another 50 people.
Right.
This is...
So how can we feel...
Yeah, we're just doing our best, and you try to put your own spin on things, and then things that are personal stories are different, but the most part, it's very hard. Hard.
It's like, leave us alone and let the comics do the policing. We
know. We police each other.
We know who's stealing. Yeah. We know who's original. Like, look, yesterday on Sirius Radio, I just saw this. I didn't listen to the bit. It's Jim Gaffigan. It's called I Saw a Bear. Mm-hmm. Now, you telling me if I saw a bear, I'm not allowed to write a joke about it? Damn right I'm writing a joke. You wait for Orny Adams' I Saw a Bear. I guarantee it's going to sound different than Jim Gaffigan's I Saw a Bear.
He's going to be, and he had my snacks.
Yeah.
I wish, like, I like Jim. I like the idea of being a comic that, like, if you had such a refillable thing is talking about food. Like, these people want him to talk about food.
Right.
If you go to a Jim Gaffigan gig and he doesn't talk about fucking food, they're just like, what have you eaten?
Right.
What's the new thing from you, like, or a food from your child, a refillable thing like that? Fantastic.
That's the other thing. I feel like it's like, as I just edited my 2 specials and put the clips up like everybody else on the planet.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. When you guys are policing us comics, there's about 1,000 to 10,000% more comedians than when we started, and we're all exposed to the same news and the same shit.
And we used to all just be in one town,
right?
Now the whole world.
Right.
So now I have to hear what someone's doing in South Africa versus what someone's doing in the whole world. And then there's TikTok comedians,
right? And
there's people who aren't even stage comedians, who are just like, ugh.
Yeah, leave it alone. We'll take care of the police.
And it's funny because people try to pit us against each other. And for the most part, you don't have many beefs with many people. Most people don't. But it's like, so for example, so Seinfeld gets heckled in Australia from a guy who's pro-Palestine, right? And he stands up, and you can see this footage, right?
Okay.
I've never met Seinfeld. Never met him.
Yep.
Right? And he stands up and he goes, from the land to the sea, Palestine will be free. Like this, right?
Yeah.
And Seinfeld's like, oh, great, you did it. You came here and you told the Jew comedian off. The people in Israel are going to be like, there's a guy in Sydney who's really angry with us. We should stop all of this right now, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, you have issues here in Australia. And he goes, maybe I should go to a Jim Jefferies show in New York and heckle him about the Aboriginals, right? I was over the moon.
Yeah.
Over the moon. Jerry Seinfeld knows who I am enough to, and like to the Australian crowd to reference me right away, and they know who I am. I thought, what a fucking honor.
Yeah.
I tell the story on radio, right? And I go, I wish you did, because they do a thing called Welcome to Country in Australia, where they go, welcome to country. This land was originally owned by the Jara Jara people and the blah, 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 blah. And we'd like to... for elders past, present, and emerging, they honour the Aboriginal people before performances, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like telling it on stage, and I said, I wish that happened. I would wish that I was on stage in New York, and I just heard in the back of the room, you didn't do Welcome to Country
Yeah.
for the Aboriginals, past, present, and emerging, like that, right?
Yeah.
And then the article comes out, Jim Jefferies feud with Seinfeld. What the fuck are you talking about?
Interesting.
I was over the moon about this.
Yeah.
No feud whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I would find that funny if he did that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that would be great.
Yeah.
But the fact that whether you love him or hate him or whatever, the richest comedian that's ever lived referenced me on stage in my home country. Brilliant. Over the moon. Happy about that. But
That's great.
They put up feud, comedian riff. You know what I mean? Like, get the fuck out of here.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. So I have a friend who's a huge profiler in the FBI. He's retired now, but he comes on this podcast and we go over crimes sometimes.
Yeah.
We did this one death cap mushroom mushrooms murder in Australia. Do you know this story?
I do not know this story.
Okay, so let me just set this up for you. This is a woman. Her name is, where is it? Page 7, 8, October. All right. Oh, here it is. An Australian woman accused of feeding poisonous mushrooms to several members of her ex-husband's family.
I was in the country when this happened. Yeah, she kept on knocking people off. And then she said she'd eaten the same meal and nothing happened to her. Yeah,
yeah, this was, she said it for her in-laws.
Yeah.
She fed it to, I don't know, Aaron Patterson, 49, in Larobe Valley Court. Anyway, so she killed people with mushrooms.
Yeah.
And I talk about Australian crime all the time, and somebody came up to me and they said, it's because they don't have guns over there. And I didn't realize you didn't have guns. And that's why you guys are so creative with the crimes.
But the only way to stop someone with a bad mushroom is a good person with a with a mushroom, right?
Yeah. Do you guys have a Second Amendment mushroom?
Okay, we had guns. Right? Right up until, if you watch the stand-up routine, I talk about this. But there was a massacre in Port Arthur in Tasmania where a guy called Martin Bryant got the record for the most amount of kills. And then they outlawed him. It was, I don't want to speak out of turn because it's a serious thing, but it was 30 or 40 people. It was a lot. Yeah. And then they brought in the gun laws after that, and we haven't had a big massacre since, but we still have guns with farmers. Our cops still have guns, unlike the cops in the UK. My brother, incidentally, is at one stage was a sergeant in the riot squad, which is like the SWAT team. And so Australian gangsters, right? Who do you think Australian gangsters are? They're biker gangs.
Oh.
So all the drugs and all the stuff is run through the biker gangs, and they sort of run the nightclubs, they run the whole thing. So when you say mafia, I'm thinking of a bloke in Australia in like a fucking denim jacket with fucking plaited hair, just fucking tattoos all over him. That's the scary bloke to me.
Right.
You know. But they're funny because Australia being an island, we haven't got fentanyl in our cocaine yet. Like, it's terrible here in America. People are dying, and it's a terrible thing. The biker gangs released a full-page ad in Australia Any cunt who fucking puts fentanyl in our cocaine will be answering to us, right? If you cut it with fentanyl, we will get you.
Wow.
Right? Are you keeping it out?
That's great. That's great.
So if you want some clean cocaine, it's very expensive. It's very expensive because it's an island. It's about $400 a gram.
Yeah. You know, I've never done any drugs.
Never?
Never.
None?
Pot. Smoke pot.
I took to drug. I was pumped full of Dexedrine and Ritalin as a kid for attention deficit disorder. Now, here's another one.
Yeah, it's another one.
I don't think I have it.
Oh. Misdiagnosed.
I've been.
You got riddled up for no reason.
I've been diagnosed with dyslexia, autism, ADHD, right? And I think I'm on the spectrum slightly, but I don't like to because there's people who are autistic, so I don't want to get. I have a few little things that I'm missing, right? But I think also we overdiagnose personalities,
right?
Like you're an intense personality as well, right? Anyone can say that you've got this, that, and that. You're on this, and you've got overtones of this, and blah blah. I've had bloody, girlfriends call me a narcissist, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I can't be everything. I can't be everything.
Yeah.
And so it's like.
But also, why the need to diagnose? Who gives a shit? Like, I don't know what I am. I'm not normal. I'm not
normal. Exactly.
I don't know what it is, and I don't really care. It works for me.
I don't hurt anyone.
Got news for you.
I'm not a violent person.
Right.
We're all good.
Here's the deal. I don't know what I am. I don't know what my personality is. I don't hurt people, like you said. And it bought me a house.
Yeah.
About to buy me another.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah.
Well done, son.
Yeah. So
well done.
I don't need to know.
This is fucking jokes, man.
Yeah.
This is fucking jokes, bro. And also, because you're only watching this podcast from this footage, the house is bigger than this. This is just a bit outside the house.
Well, this is actually an independent Shasta trailer, 1960s, vintage trailer.
This is like what is it, like a Jetstream thing, or what is it? Like
it's a Shasta.
What's a Shasta?
It's just a brand.
That's like the one of the big ones.
Yeah, it had to be. It's a collector's item. It's numbered.
And this folds up.
Listen. I turned it into a studio. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And you can pull these out and sleep. And I bought it when I bought the house.
Yeah, sweet.
It didn't come with it, but I made an offer.
That's sweet, man.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, I was already in the backyard.
It had to be
keep it.
I have a huge. It had to be airlifted in.
Really?
Yeah, I have pictures of it being airlifted in. I go, this is a perfect podcast studio because a lot of people do it from a spare bedroom.
Yeah.
And people are like, why don't you do it from one of your bedrooms? And I said, I just want people to know there's more than two. But who wants to walk by that every day and think of work? Right? I wanted it outside.
I tried podcasting at home. I got young kids. And so it's hard to say, all right, everyone quiet.
Right.
For the next hour.
Well, that's what I wanted. How did you know to do a podcast in 2010? How did you know?
I got to give credit to Eddie for that. Eddie wanted to do it. I was living at Eddie's house. I'd met him in London or Australia or something. I'd met him somewhere.
Yeah.
And he offered me a spare room, and he said, I want to do a podcast. And I was like, oh, I'm already living there. I didn't have the foresight.
Yeah, you didn't seem that into it when I was on. This guy hates me.
I was just like, I thought it was a business that was going nowhere.
Yeah. Little did you know.
Yeah.
Do you want to, before we get into this article, Jim Jefferies, on social media, what are you?
Jim Jefferies, just Jim JimJefferies.
And you have shows coming up where?
Instagram. When's this coming out?
Thursday.
Okay. Well, this weekend I am in Kalamazoo and Minneapolis, and then I've got a whole lot of stuff. If you're in LA, I do one show every year at the Ace Theatre, and that's on December 14th, and
cool.
That's on sale now. And if you're listening in South Africa, I'm about to come out to South Africa.
Have you been?
I've been many times, but I maybe this is my 5th or 6th time.
Yeah.
And but I'm going to play Pretoria, and that's where Oscar Pistorius is from.
He's from a place that he rhymes with.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So Pretoria, and he's now out of prison. And after the gun control thing, I had a whole routine about him murdering his girlfriend. And I do a whole bit about him dragging himself along the legs in the shower and getting raped in prison and all that stuff. It's like quite an active play out, right? There's no chance he hasn't heard that gig. I'm more nervous about meeting Oscar.
Yeah, they can run in those metal legs.
How does that cunt keep his ankle bracelet on? Like, seriously. Like, does he have a special one?
Yeah, he's got a thigh one. Upper thigh bracelet.
But it tapers down.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's like if he's laying on his back, you could fit it on like a ring. But if you're standing up, it's going to jingle down.
Yeah, but how could you really hide when you're missing your legs? Like, aren't they going to? Hey, we're trying to find missing Pistoria. They're like, oh, he's running down the high. I've seen him running down the highway with this.
So you're saying if he leaves the flippers off at home, but he'd have 2 sets of flippers.
But even if he has those. He'd
have going out flippers.
Yeah, but you can't conceal.
He'd have home flippers that were a bit more furry, like for being on the couch.
He walks like this, so even if he tried to cover it up, I'm just saying he's a well-known guy.
He's very well-known, yeah.
He's not going to get out of South Africa. They don't need an ankle bracelet. They'll just report, on him. I'll be in Las Vegas October 18th and 19th, Kimmel's Comedy Club. I'll be...
I heard that's a lovely club. I heard that's great.
It's great.
Yeah.
I'm there almost every month. October 24, 25, 26, I'll be in Port Charlotte, Florida. This is where the hurricane's going on Thursday. So
good luck.
Yeah. And back in Vegas, November 1 and 2, ornyadams.com/tour for info. And also you can...
JimJefferies.com. That's the .com.
And if you want to correspond, what's wrong at ornyadams.com. So listen to this. This is, do you have 10 more minutes we can talk about this, or you want to get out of here?
I do.
Okay,
indeed.
great.
I'm off to my son's football game after this.
This is a great story. Catherine Knight. So the other day I saw you at the store and I said, hey, I'm doing this bit about this woman in Australia who cut her husband's head off and tried to make soup out of it.
Right.
And I just wanted I said it to you because
you have your people. Jeffrey Dahmer is not without his faults.
Right. But I wanted to make sure you weren't doing that on stage.
I didn't even know about it.
Okay, listen to this. Catherine Knight killed her boyfriend, then served his remains to his children. Not only did this Australian stab her lover, John Charles Thomas Price, with a butcher knife at least 37 times in 2000, then she chopped him up, cooked him, and prepared to serve him to his own children. But long before this grisly killing, the disturbing story of Catherine Mary Knight was marked by violence, sexual abuse that hinted at the bloodshed to come.
Right, well, that's the Menendez theory, right? So if someone molests you, you're allowed to kill them.
I guess so. They're about to get out. Yeah. So I didn't know if I didn't think the interview was going to go as great as it did. I prepared to discuss this entire case.
All right, well, let's keep going.
Oh, you want to keep going? Let me put some glasses on.
What's going on with this case?
Okay. Catherine Knight was born in 1955 in Tenterfield, Australia.
That's where Peter Allen was from.
Who's that?
Peter Allen is the boy from Oz. He was so gay he married Liza Minnelli, right?
Oh, that guy, yeah.
The songs that Americans would know that he's written, Hugh Jackman played him in a musical called The Boy from Oz. But he wrote, When You Get Lost Between the Moon and New York City.
Oh, yeah, it's a great song.
Don't cry out loud, you got to keep it inside.
That's not Barry Manilow?
No. And he also wrote, it was covered by a million people. He also wrote, when my baby smiles at me, I go to Rio.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
Like a Congaree type song.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was from Tenterfield, and his best song was called Tenterfield Saddler, and that's what the town's most famous for, apart from this woman getting her head cut off.
Yeah.
So carry on.
She was a product of a scandalous affair between her mother, Barbara, and her father, Ken. Ruffin, that's her last name, was not only already, the mother was already a mother of 4 boys with another man, but she even met Knight through her husband. I don't even know how to read anymore. When this secret rendezvous came to light, it rocked the small conservative town. Okay, so she meets this guy. Following this tumultuous start, Knight's chaotic childhood didn't get much better from there. Her father was a violent alcoholic who raped her mother multiple times a day.
Multiple people saw this.
Knight herself claims that she was sexually assaulted several times by members of her family until the age 11. In school, Knight was known as a bully. That doesn't describe.
Sure.
Yeah, that doesn't. So here's where it gets good. Journalist Peter Lord wrote in Bloodstain, his true crime book that covered Catherine Knight, that she loved her job so much she became a butcher. Okay?
Yeah.
She hung the butcher knives above her bed just in case she ever wanted to use them. While working in a butcher shop, Knight met David Kellett, a raging alcoholic, much like her father, who was prone to fistfights. Used to this kind of violence, Knight surprised her new beau when she joined in on one of his drunken scuffles. He soon realized, however, that Knight was capable of doing more damage than his little fist. Before long, he found himself dominated by her. In 1974, she convinced...
Was she a good sort?
No, I don't think she is.
All right, okay.
Oh, tell me if you would still marry this woman or stay married with this woman. In 1974, she convinced him to marry her. He was heavily intoxicated at the time, and her mother even warned him about his daughter's temper, saying that Knight had a screw loose somewhere. On their wedding night, Knight and Kellett consummated their marriage 3 times. When he fell asleep, Knight wanted a 4th round and took issue with her new husband's exhaustion, so she started to strangle him.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah. Well, she won 4 times.
This is the wedding night.
Yeah, 4 times.
Yeah. Do you stay with this woman after that? Kellett woke up and managed to fight Knight off, even though she attempted to kill him only 1 day into their marriage. The union lasted 10 more years. The marriage...
And that's the biggest yada, yada, yada ever. Like, and what happened in 10 years? How many times did he try to kill her in the 10 years?
Yeah, listen to this line. The marriage was, however, far from perfect.
Oh.
Kellett was often...
You got to work at these things. They don't come easy.
Kellett was unfaithful. Does that surprise you?
No.
After discovering his affairs, Knight placed their 2-month-old infant on a local train track shortly before a train was due. The train didn't come, and the infant was spared. She also threatened several people...
Now, that infant's got PTSD.
You think so?
That's someone with PTSD. They get to use the title PTSD all day.
Yes.
What happened to you? I was tied to a train track.
By my mom.
By my mum. Oh, yeah, well, one time my dad didn't pick me up from soccer practice.
Yeah.
I guess we're all the same.
She was diagnosed with postnatal depression.
Yeah.
Another diagnosis.
Yeah, I believe postnatal depression is a real thing. I didn't used to. I used to be a bit more callous about it. I thought it was something that people... But I do believe it's a real thing. But I do believe that a lot of people say they have it and they're just a bit... Their life's just changed.
Yeah.
It's like... A lot of people it's a chemical thing that a lot of people legitimately go into a spiral of depression, with postnatal depression. And then there's people that are like,
why is that? Is it because the baby didn't come out as good as they thought it would?
No, I think that
they're disappointed in the baby.
I think it's the feeling of hopelessness that they can't do it properly. It's a huge shift in your life where maybe your life was going in one direction, now it's going in that direction, and you can't. Everything else in life, you can go, well, I'll do this to make it different. I'll do that to make it different. And I'll do this to me. The baby is, you're taking care of this whether you fucking like it or not. Right? And you might not.
Do men experience depression too, or is it just...
I'm sure they have, but there's no chemical reaction. A woman has a chemical reaction to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's... Anyway, carry on. She had postnatal depression.
Yeah. I'm skipping some paragraphs here. Okay. The beginning of Catherine Knight and John Price's relationship was without complications. He had 2 older children. So I guess now she's married to another guy? Yeah. 2 older children who lived with him and seemed to like Knight.
All right.
And he made enough money as a minor. It's a good job, a minor, huh?
Yeah.
Who knew?
Oh, no,
in Australia, what's going on with the miners?
You make a ton of money. When I was at university in Perth,
there's
people ducking out to Kalgoorlie to go do mining, and they'd go for 3 months, and that would pay for the whole year of their education. They'd do that in the summer, and then they would be fine.
It's like those fishermen in Alaska,
And they, like these towns like Kalgoorlie have like so many prostitutes because it's like 9 men to every 1 woman.
Yeah.
So they just have to ship women in.
Yes.
In America, they call this
trafficking.
Human trafficking.
Yes.
Because Australian prostitution is legal.
Yeah.
That's the bit about the P. Diddy case where I'm like, oh, come on now. Right? Because get him for rape, obviously beating up a woman. These are very clear things. The extortion and the videotaping, these horrendous acts.
Beating that woman in front of the elevator.
Like, these are bare income, like proper crimes.
Yeah.
But let's not get hung up on he paid some woman with a Gucci handbag to get on business class on a Delta flight.
Right.
And call it sex trafficking. Sex trafficking conjures up ideas of people being thrown in shipping containers and fucking... Just because you paid for a prostitute to go... I'll tell you where...
No, he flew a prostitute into Miami.
Yeah, but this is the whole thing. I bet you... Oh, well, that's stupid because you already got nice prostitutes in Miami.
Not good enough for P. Diddy.
I was saying this on stage. I bet you his trafficking was less in Vegas, New York, and LA.
Yeah.
I bet you he had to traffic more in Omaha. There was a lot of traffic.
Yeah, you'd understand that. No offense, Omaha women.
Yeah.
But
the ones that stayed aren't the best.
Yeah. No, I think they're just throwing the book. They'll end up only getting him for some sort of tax crime. That's it.
I think, no, they'll get
No, in my country.
Domestic abuse. They'll get him for domestic abuse. That's cut and dried.
I don't know. I think the time has elapsed on that. I think he settled with that woman.
Oh, right. Well, they'll definitely get him for something.
Yeah.
But, the other men that go to these parties should be shitting themselves. Like...
Oh, yeah. No, but you know what? No. Because what happened to Jeffrey Epstein and those people? Where are they?
Well, they killed him.
Where's that list?
They killed him before he could fucking say anything.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, that's going to happen with this.
Yeah. Did he? I bet he did.
Yes, he did. Anyway, he made enough money as a minor that they moved in together in 1995, and things were going smoothly. However, she suggested they marry. He declined. She turned violent.
Right, of course.
Night frame price for stealing things from his company and got him fired. Anyway, they get into all these fights, and here's the gist of what happened. He had kids, I guess, from a previous marriage.
Sure.
She, being a previous butcher, this is Australia, this is your country.
Yeah.
She stabbed him multiple times.
Well, you have to make sure you've done the right job.
Yeah. Then she took, what do they call it, where they take the skin off of a person? Like the hide.
Skinning.
Yeah, she skinned him.
Yeah.
And hung him up on meat hooks that she had installed the week before.
Right.
Here's the thing. You're dating a woman. She's got the knives above the bed from when she was a butcher. Sure. Then she goes, you know what? I'm thinking of putting up meat hooks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. This is after she's, put her kid on the tracks and done all this other shit.
Comes in the rooms covered in plastic.
Yeah. So she skinned him so well that when they buried the guy, they could put the skin back on. It was like done so well.
All right.
But here's what she did. She beheaded him, put his head in a pot.
Okay, so when he's in the coffin, they put a cravat.
Yeah, something. Yeah, a tie from the place that you bought. Yeah. So beheaded the guy, put him in. Now she puts zucchini in there. Now this is where you lose me.
Yeah.
Did zucchini go with human head?
No. But like she was cooking it with zucchini.
Yes, human head and zucchini.
I feel like a human head is a more rustic vegetables, your root vegetables, parsnips.
Yeah.
Potatoes.
Yeah, something to offset the fat.
A lovely red wine jus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, and then you can't put a red wine jus on a zucchini.
It's just, anyway, the police came in and the head was boiling and she got busted. And now she's the only, I think she's life in prison, which is rare, I guess, in Australia.
Very rare in Australia. Normally, and we don't have the death penalty. I was thinking then about like Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm trying to write a routine about Jeffrey Dahmer being like how they all got very upset and they said that the crimes were racially motivated.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't racist. He just really liked black guys.
He preferred black guys.
It's why he got him. He wasn't racist. My point is, no one called him homophobic. Right? And he killed a lot of gay guys.
Yeah.
And at no stage did they go, that's homophobic.
Yeah. It's a good point. Don't you love when you write a bit, you find an angle that nobody else has found?
Well,
I love
that's the
that.
whole thing. I'm sure someone's probably tweeted this in a million years, you know what I mean? Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's
like, I do a bit. I'm self-conscious about it. I still do a bit about self-checkout because I found a unique angle.
What's your oh, you don't want to, don't blow it.
I'll tell you afterwards, but I found a unique, and to me, that makes it a great bit and allows me to still do it. But I feel like the comedy police might go, oh, that thing is aged out.
Oh, I've done over the years maybe 30, 40 minutes on airplanes. Because I'm always on fucking airplanes.
Yeah.
I'm always on airplanes.
I have no problem with that.
I'm always on airplanes. You got to talk about what you know. This is what I saw today. This happened on an airplane. And I'll tell you what about for air travel. It never ceases to surprise me.
No, it's great.
Some new bit of shit always happens.
Yeah, I had a lady pass out on a flight once, and they called for a doctor, and I tell the whole bit. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I've stopped doing it because I'm going to do it on a special, so I just want to take time off. But it's on an airplane. And I don't give a shit. You know, here's the deal. At some point, you know, and you're at this point, you're big enough and Burr's big enough and plenty of other people, you just go, hey, the rules are out the window. It's about my relationship with the audience and making the audience laugh at that time. Yeah. Like, it's changed so much in my lifetime. What you can talk about, what you can't talk about, who's doing this, who's doing that.
Well, the whole comedy business has changed as well, in the sense that the way that people become famous is completely different. As I said before, you used to have to go back, and then more people would come, more people would come, more people would come.
Build an audience.
Yeah, now this idea, everyone's putting up a video clip of comedian destroys heckler. And you're like, dude, we all have that skill.
Yes.
You can't do this for 20 years and not have that skill.
Right.
It's a muscle that you just build up.
Right.
It's like a basketball player not having a jump shot. If you do it every fucking day, you'll have one.
Right.
Right? And so this idea of, I can't believe that this person, and then you watch it and it's the most tepid sort of, what do you do for a living? Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Because it goes nowhere.
Destroys?
Here's the other thing. They always do this. They go, what do you do for work? And the guy will go, dentist. And the comic goes, dentist? The audience laughs. Yeah. It's a huge. Now they have 10 seconds built up in their head to come up with something funny. Yeah. I go, what do you do? I go right into it. I start laying into them. They do the same conventions. Drives me nuts. You know, when I started doing comedy, I believed, in fact, Seinfeld said to me, there's only like 20 comedians in the world. Yeah. There's only like that mind. And I subscribe to like, you've got to be a unique person and have a unique mind to do this. But now it's like karaoke.
There's only 50 comics that you'd watch a special of on Earth at any given time. And there's probably thousands of comics. And there's probably 50 people that you could actually comfortably go, I can watch this person for 30 minutes. Yeah. I'm not even saying hour-long ones.
Right.
You know what I mean? 50 people. 50 people.
Yeah.
I think.
Am I on that list?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
If you don't believe it, we'll edit it out. We can edit that out.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
No, I love comedy so much, and it bothers me because I find, listen, I think everybody should try it. But I look at so many people on stage and I think, what makes them think they should be up here? Like
there's people who are good club comics, who are good MCs, and who are good, but like real comics who you can rely on them coming to your town with a new set and a new this and new that, and you know what I mean? Like when you get to that stage where after something happens in American culture or something like that, I get people write to me now like, are you going to say something?
Yeah.
Were you waiting for my opinion on this? It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. You know what I said always makes a great comic? Is if they have a signature bit. And you have it.
Yeah, the guns.
You have it. I want to thank you, Jim Jefferies.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you having me, man.
This actually went better than I could have imagined. Let me play the theme song. You want to listen to this? This is the Orny Adams theme song. What's Wrong with Orny Adams, episode 129. I think I got it right.
Yeah, man.
So many times I say it wrong, and then we have to change it in post. You can listen to the last episode. It's all mashed together. It's nuts. JimJefferies.com. I encourage everybody that's not familiar with Jim Jefferies to watch his stand-up comedy. Great guy, and I'm really grateful you came up here.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.
Brother. I'll do it again.
Yeah, thank you to Eric Stoltz for mastering the audio.
What? Back to the Future?
No, it's a different Eric Stoltz. I couldn't afford the actor Eric Stoltz. If you want to communicate, the email is what'swrong@ornyadams.com. My what'swrong@ornyadams.com for my tour, ornyadams.com/tour. Go see Jim Jefferies. We'll see you for episode 130. Thank you, everybody. That was great. That was great. You know, every podcast I say, I got to stop reading. Every time I read, it ruins the podcast.
Yeah, well, reading's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not good at it. I'm not good.
I gotta go to meet kids.
Yeah, thank you for your time.